One of the best ways to protect your business against cyber attacks is to introduce a cybersecurity framework. And there is arguably none on the market as comprehensive and well-respected as NIST 853. NIST stands for the National Institute of Standards and Technology and is the federal agency that introduced the cybersecurity framework in 2014. 853 is a special publication under the NIST family and deals with security and privacy controls for federal information systems. And just 2 years after its introduction in 2016, a study found that over 70% of organizations considered NIST 853 a security best practice. So in this video, we're going to cover everything that we need to know about NIST, what it is, why it's so loved, and how you can start implementing it. Originally built for operators of critical infrastructure such as federal agencies and contractors who process government data, in subsequent years, the tech-agnostic nature of the framework meant it could be used by any organization looking to bolster its cybersecurity posture. The best way to understand NIST 853 is to understand how it's structured. To start with, this gold standard for data protection is split into 5 cores that cover the life cycle of cybersecurity protection. They are: 1. Identify. The first step of fighting a battle is knowing. Risk identification is a pillar of cybersecurity, and NIST 853 is no different. Identify the critical data, systems, assets, and capabilities you must protect. 2. Protect. Once you know what your risks are, you need to implement security measures that limit or contain the impact of incident. For example, if you handle sensitive data across multiple functions, review company policies, and train employees on safe data handling. 3rd, detect. Detection is half the battle in cybersecurity. Devise a well-planned strategy with clear procedures and tools to detect incidents. With greater visibility, you can ensure timely deployments of those protections we mentioned earlier. 4. Respond. Once detected, springing into action is the next step. Create incident response plans that outline appropriate steps in the wake of an attack. As a CISO, you and your team should move quickly to eliminate threats, respond to any breaches, and mitigate damage at large. 5. Recover. Response over, you need a disaster recovery policy to ensure business goes back to normal as quickly as possible. Aside from restoring data and services, your team can learn from every event and improve resilience and strategies for the future. When NIST was first introduced, there were around 300 controls, but now nearly a decade later, in version 5, there's 1,077 controls in total. And that's not the entire story, because there's also steps and enhancements on top of that. But we'll get to those in a second. These 1,000+ controls are housed in what are called control families. Just explaining control families could be a video unto itself, so keep an eye out in the top right corner for when that drops. But suffice to say, the best way to understand NIST from here on out is to see it in action. There's 20 control families in total, and they cover almost every major cybersecurity touchpoint in an organization. Inside each of these families are a number of controls that pertains to the area of consideration. Now, before going any further, it helps to understand impact. As you can see, impact is split into 3 tiers: low, medium, and high. These tiers are reflective of the risk an organization ascertains for itself through internal assessments. To explain that same sentiment in more simple words, if an organization feels like it's in a high-risk category, it will implement a high-impact version of a control, so it's well protected against those risks. What's different between a low-impact control and a high-impact control? Enhancements, which are the NIST equivalent of a booster shot. There are even enhancements that go beyond the realm of high-impact controls. As you can see, there's also the small matter of privacy control baseline. These are controls that map to almost every major privacy-focused regulation like GDPR, CCP, etc. So, implementing these controls means that you're in compliance with a lot of them. Now, let's understand what all of this theory looks like in the real world, using a practical example. Clicking on one of these controls is when the depth of NIST 853 really starts to kick in, because each control has several steps under it. And in order to implement just one of these controls, you have to meet all the steps you see outlined here. And some of these steps even have multiple items in them. If you're a high-risk organization trying to implement a high-impact version of the control, there's even enhancements, which have multiple subpoints under them as well. All of NIST 853 works this way. There's a control family, under which there are controls, under which there are enhancements. And that is how you go from 20 control families to 1,077 controls, 1,207 enhancement, and 1,000 more steps for each. So, why do CISOs love NIST? To begin with, let's take a look at some of the more popular compliance and security frameworks and see how they compare with NIST. SOC 2 has about 75-ish controls, ISO 27001 has about 114, PCI DSS has about 300, and NIST 853 has 1,077 controls. As you can see, NIST 853 is by far and away the most comprehensive and complete security framework on the market. The incredible depths it goes to, combined with the non-compulsory nature of it, means that organizations of any size can comply with NIST 853 standards, but choose whichever approach and controls they feel best suits their business model and risk assessment. There are several advantages of getting NIST 853 compliant, and here's Devika Arvind to tell you a little bit more about that.
The National Institute of Standards and Technology has developed different kinds of cybersecurity framework, the CSF, the 853, the 800-171, and so on, to help different kinds of organizations to better manage and reduce their cybersecurity risks. Having worked in the security space for a while and trying to put together very comprehensive security programs for various kinds of companies, I've always looked up to specifically the 853 for guidance when it comes to putting a robust program in place. It provides a lot of advantages. The first one being that it provides a very nice and common language and framework for cybersecurity. This means that it does not get into a lot of technical jargon, but very clearly explains what is the risk that you're trying to mitigate and how are you planning to mitigate it without involving a lot of technical jargon. And this sort of helps communicate well with your external partners and stakeholders. And when it comes to cybersecurity, it really helps reduce the risk of misunderstandings and mistakes. Secondly, the NIST framework is quite flexible and customizable. It takes a risk-based approach. This means that anybody can use it to adapt it to specific needs and risks of an organization, and you can even ensure that you're focusing on the most important risks by implementing most effective controls against them while taking a more structured approach to the rest. The next one that I really feel is you can confidently rely on the NIST framework because it is based on the best practices and industry standards. So you're confident that you're putting in place a proven and effective approach to cybersecurity. Along with this, what really helps is that it has a very well-established community of practitioners and a lot of ample resources that are available, like implementation guides, assessment methodologies, case studies. Along the same lines, I feel that the NIST framework is regularly updated and sort of improved, and this really helps you stay up to date with the latest trends and developments in the cybersecurity domain, and also ensures that your organization remains very resilient and adaptable in the face of these evolving cyber threats. All of these points put together really makes NIST one of the frameworks that I always look up to, that sort of helps better manage and reduce cybersecurity risks in an organization.
So, how does your business get NIST 853 compliant? Unless you're a massively large company, undertaking NIST 853 in its entirety will likely prove too expensive and cumbersome for you. But that doesn't mean you can't start implementing your desired portions of it right now and slowly building towards a full compliance over time. This is when NIST CSF comes in and is a great starting point for smaller tech companies beginning their compliance journey. Video on the top right corner if you want to know more about that. And since NIST is so expansive, the controls you implement for it will also map to other more business-backed frameworks like SOC 2, ISO 27001, and PCI DSS, allowing you to meet both your business and security goals together. NIST 853 represents a fundamental shift in the world of cybersecurity, moving from moment-in-time compliance to continuous monitoring compliance. The focus on constant visibility, along with the nature and sheer number of controls in NIST 853, means that organizations will also have to shift the way they get compliant, from the old paperwork, human-assisted and manual approach to a digitized, automated and integrated method of compliance. Sprinto helps companies leverage compliance automation across several frameworks: NIST 853, SOC 2, ISO 27001, and more, so that companies just like yours can get compliant faster, easier, and more inexpensively. Continuous monitoring via Sprinto's centralized dashboard also means that you stay compliant too, all year round, not just during an audit cycle. To know more, visit sprinto.com or book a demo with one of our NIST 853 experts using the link below. If you found this video useful, remember to like and subscribe. Better yet, share the video with somebody that you think might find it useful too.